The first hiring of the offseason was the Jacksonville Jaguars hiring Urban Meyer to be their new head coach. And there's a lot of people split on his hiring. Some people like it, they love it. Some people don't believe that a college head coach can succeed in the NFL, or they are very iffy on it. I'll go first in this one, and I'm just going to say Jaguars fans should not be worried about nothing, and everybody that talks about football should not be trying to criticize Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer has won everywhere he's went. He's a 3-time national champion. He won 2 with the Florida Gators BCS championships. He won a national championship with the Ohio State Buckeyes, and his last year in college was 2018, which means he still knows the college football scene very much. He knows who's good, who's not. So these upcoming drafts are going to be great drafts for Urban Meyer. This draft alone, the Jaguars have 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, 2 fourth-rounders.
Can you tell me the numbers for the 2 first-rounders?
The 2 first-rounders, well, the first one's the first pick.
Yeah, and what's the other one?
The second one is, I think it's in the 20s or the 18. I know they got the Rams first-round pick. So they got 2 second-rounders, 2 fourth-rounders, and 2 fifth-rounders. And they still have a lot of talent on the team, like James Robinson. He's really good. DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault, Cam Robinson on the offensive line, Jawan Taylor, Andrew Norwell, Brandon Linder. Like, their offensive line is a very underrated group. And when you look at that defense, Miles Jack, Joe Schobert, Josh Allen, Kalavion Chason, C.J. Henderson, they have some young talent. And I want to compare Urban Meyer's situation to Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll, when he joined the Seattle Seahawks, these are his first 3 drafts. In 2010, Russell Okung, Earl Thomas, Golden Tate, Cam Chancellor. 2011, James Carpenter, KJ Wright, Richard Sherman, Byron Maxwell, Malcolm Smith, the Super Bowl MVP. 2012, Bruce Irvin, Bobby Wagner, Russell Wilson, and J.R. Sweezy. In those 3 drafts, Seattle Seahawks basically built their dynasty off those 3 drafts. And that's because Pete Carroll was so in tune with the college football atmosphere still that he knew who guys were, and, you know, he knew the gems in the draft. Richard Sherman was a late round pick. He was like a 5th rounder. Russell Wilson was a 3rd rounder. These guys built that team up to be the Legion of Boom. He built that team up because he was fresh out of college. I think Urban Meyer will do the same. And Pete Carroll did not have the luxury that Urban Meyer has right now, in which you have the number 1 pick, and that's going to be Trevor Lawrence, a quarterback prospect that is being rivaled to the names of Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning. Like, Urban Meyer is going to turn around the Jaguars quick.
Well, I'll play devil's advocate really quick because I definitely think there is a concern with college coaches coming into the NFL for their first experience. Just when you look back since 2000, there's only been 11 guys hired straight to the NFL out of college into a head coaching position. Only 3 of those guys have had winning records. Bill O'Brien was one of them. It was only by 4 games. Another one was Chip Kelly, who his stint with the Eagles didn't last very long, and I wouldn't call it much of a success. And the other one was Jim Harbaugh.
For the most part.
You know, Chip Kelly revolutionized a lot of the medical science that teams have now, right? In terms of like,
well, that's a whole different story than his success with the Eagles.
No, but that's why his teams were so fresh, and they were, because Eagles in the start of the season were really good. I mean, I think the Eagles did good with Chip Kelly for his time
good,
there.
And then quarterback went down.
I think Chip Kelly's problem in Philly was more so him not being able to relate with players and him trading their team.
I mean, that's a concern, though.
You know,
that's a concern.
Yeah.
And the one glowing example would be Jim Harbaugh, who came in, he was spectacular with the 49ers, took him to a Super Bowl, and then obviously, goes back to Michigan, and
Pete Carroll.
The rest is history. Pete Carroll wasn't his first NFL experience, though, so he technically doesn't count, but you're right. He did come back into the league and have success. But when you look at Urban Meyer, I do think he's going to come in and be all right with the Jaguars, especially you mentioned having the number 1 pick. When you look at what he had in college, though, from 2006 on, which is his 2nd year at Florida, his first year at Florida, they had the 12th recruiting class in the nation. But from then on, every single year he coached college football, he had a top 10 recruiting class. 2006, it was second, then first, fifth, seventh, first, fifth, second, third, seventh, fourth, second. So he was always bringing in the top crop of talent. So it's going to be interesting to see how he builds his teams at the NFL level where, you can't just build your team based off of the prestige of your program. You can't get anybody you want. You have to deal with the salary cap and the draft picks that you're dealt with. Obviously, he gets lucky coming into Trevor Lawrence. And one thing I will say to his credit, he's very adaptable to his roster and the players that he has. He's been with a wide range of offenses and offensive talents. You're talking about Tim Tebow ranging all the way to the guys he had at Ohio State in his last couple of years. And no matter who he had talent-wise in that offense, he made it work. And they were always one of the top offenses in the country. So I like that for him coming to the NFL. I would be cautiously optimistic. If there was any guy that I think could make the jump to the NFL level, I would think it's him. And I do think there are some positives to the NFL, to a college coach coming to the NFL level for the first time. But it definitely, you have to be a little bit cautious because even some of the best have come up and flopped.
I think you can be cautious, but at the same time, I think the Jaguars should feel good about the situation Urban Myers is stepping into. Because like Joel said, when you're looking at the Jaguars, they have a lot of youth, a lot of young talent, and not to mention they have draft capital and cap space. So Urban Myers is being put in a position where he really can't fail because he has all this flexibility in terms of the cap and the draft, and he has a lot of talent. So when you look at it from a sense, I don't think Jaguars fans should be so cautious. I think they should feel good about the situation. Not to mention they have Trevor Lawrence, who they thought they weren't going to get. Everybody believed the Jets were going to get him, and now they're going to get him. So they should look at it as a good spot. Also, Urban Myers has yet to pick out his full staff, so it's going to be interesting to see the guys he pick up. Yes, I think Jaguars fans should definitely be cautious on the idea, but they should look at it as in a good sense because, like Joel said and like you said, he was very successful. He coached players like Zeke, Michael Thomas. I mean, he didn't have many great quarterbacks out, but in terms of the offense, in terms of wide receivers and running backs and that defense, he had great talent out there. And he's coached some guys that's dominated this league. So he knows what he's doing in that sense. So I think Jaguars fans should definitely be cautious.
I mean, when you brought up the point about recruiting and he had top recruiting classes, I can make the argument that that's how it's going to be like with Jacksonville for the first couple of years. As long as Trevor Lawrence is a rookie, for that matter, on that rookie contract, right now they're first in the league in cap space. So Urban Meyer has the ability to pick out any free agent that he wants,
Literally,
that wants to come to Jacksonville, right? So he has that type of power where Ohio State, yes, like you got the best recruits because of the name of Ohio State. But now you're in Jacksonville, people see the talent around Jacksonville, how much cap space they have, the draft picks. That's a situation that can be built like that. And I remember in one of my videos, I talked about the owner, Sean Khan, I believe. He's not a bad owner. And I think I misidentified him by saying that he was. He's not a bad owner. And in fact, he's willing to spend whatever it takes to make the Jaguars good. And because of that, I think they're in a good situation. We can say everything we want to say about Urban Meyer, but at the end of the day, he was the number one candidate for almost every team. But he got off the market for the Jaguars. I guarantee you the Jets would have been calling his phone. We were calling his phone. Everybody wanted Urban Meyer. Jaguars got him, and Urban Meyer is a guy that he's not going to come out of retirement unless he thinks it's a good situation and unless it's lucrative to him. So the reason that he picked the Jaguars to go to that as a team to go to is a sigh of relief for Jaguar fans, and fans should be looking at that like, yeah, they're going to be a really good team. The AFC South is not that great of a division regardless.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind they're going to be a better team next year. I mean, it would hard to not be a better team next year after a one-win season, but obviously you get the number one pick. You're getting Trevor Lawrence. He is as can't miss as a prospect comes. They have stupid money in cap space. They have the best draft capital in the league. So they have everything going for them. And you said it about Urban Meyer. He wouldn't come out of retirement if the situation wasn't perfect. And he thinks that this is. The one thing I'll say about the owner, Shad Khan, I believe is how you pronounce his name. This is just what I've read from Jaguar fans. I obviously have not followed it firsthand, but sometimes he meddles in football operations where he doesn't have that expertise, and it's messed up the direction of the franchise. But he has said that he is willing to take a step back. So if he's willing to do that and still cut the checks, I think that would be the best thing for the organization. But I do think things are headed in the right direction, and they will certainly be a better team next year.
Yeah, because you gotta remember too. There's gonna be a lot of guys in the league that can vouch for Urban Myers and say he's a great coach, he's a great mind. And at the same time, Jacksonville is not gonna be looked at like Miami as a spot where you can build your own name, become a certified star in this league, but a local town. So it's like in free agency, he's gonna be able to chip that away. Like, listen, you could come here, be the guy, or you could come here and make your own name with all that cap and that draft capital. So it's gonna be interesting to see. But they're gonna be good for the next 3 to 5 years.
I mean, a name, you talk about the coaching staff, a name that is floating around is that Raheem Morris might be the defensive coordinator there. So I think that would be a great hire if they hire Raheem Morris. He was an interim coach for the Falcons.
Yeah, they definitely – I think that staff is going to be really important. And I say that because coming to the NFL level from the college level, no matter who you are, it's going to be a bit of an adjustment. So if he could get some experienced NFL guys around him, I think it would be a big help. And Raheem Morris would be a great name.